And showtime! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. A look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am one of your co-hosts on this program. With me as ever is the other co-host, Erick Simpson, who is a business transformation and improvement expert for MSPs and other IT providers. Erick, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Rich. I'm a little more rested than you are, apparently.
Yeah. Well, in fact, just moments from now, we're going to dive into the Tech Data event that I just within the hour got home from. But yeah, I was, you know where I was? I was in Denver at a Tech Data show. I was right in the heart of a bombed cyclone.
Yes, I've been reading about that. I have a client in North Dakota who I've been texting with, keeping up with, the 12-inch heavy snowfall they had overnight. It's crazy.
So I got into Denver about an hour ahead of this blizzard that everyone was being warned about, and it snowed quite a bit on Wednesday and Thursday morning. But by Thursday evening, most of the snow had melted. I mean, I just cruised in and out of town. You'd never know there had been a blizzard in between.
That's just because you're an expert at this kind of thing, Rich.
I got it down. Well, let's chat a little bit. So I was in Denver at a Tech Data event. This was their 2019 Endpoint Symposium. And as soon as I heard that they were doing an event called the Endpoint Symposium, I was really interested to go and check it out. Tech Data, like all of the big broadline distributors, Tech Data is in the process of redefining itself for a new era of IT. As we move out of the client-server age into the age of cloud and mobile and IoT and analytics, all these next-generation technologies, the sort of pick, pack, and ship services that these big distributors provided in the past aren't as necessary anymore, aren't as relevant. So they're all kind of embracing different strategies for taking the next step forward. Ingram is all in on the cloud. For Tech Data, what they're doing is trying to move past selling products and move into selling solutions and trying to bring their partners along with them and get the partners to make that change as well. And so, how do you do that with endpoints specifically? I mean, if there's any kind of ground zero for this transformation, it's got to be the endpoint market. But it was very interesting being at the show and hearing the answer to that, essentially. The product sale, the old world, was you just go in to a client and you refresh their laptops or their desktops, and the conversation is all about what model do you need and how much margin can I make. In the new world, what they're trying to encourage people to do is sell solutions that are built around endpoints of various kinds, combinations of endpoints with software and with services. So this could be a conference room solution or a collaboration solution or a digital signage solution or a workplace transformation solution. There are solutions that require endpoints. And they're working with their partners basically to teach them how to have this kind of business value, business outcome conversation with the client to understand their needs and then build a solution with endpoints around those needs. Now, all of that is very interesting, but the main reason why I wanted to talk about the show with you, Erick, is there was something else that I wrote about yesterday because they were talking about it quite a bit at the show. Now, late in 2017, Tech Data rolled out what they call their Tech as a Service program. And essentially, it's a way for end users to buy hardware and software on a subscription-priced kind of basis. Instead of cutting a big check all up front, you make monthly payments to Tech Data. If you are the partner responsible for this deal, though, you collect all of your money up front. Essentially, this is kind of a financing offer. So you get all your money right away. The customer pays for the product in monthly installments over the course of a few years. According to Tech Data, they are getting a lot of interest in this program from partners. They're getting a lot of inquiries about this program from partners. They're not seeing as much adoption of the program as they were hoping for or expecting at this point. And I'll say, just a few weeks ago, I was at a Synex event. Synex has one of these subscription-priced offers of its own. So does Ingram Micro. And I know in the case of Synex, very, very similar story. They're talking with a lot of partners about it. They're not seeing quite as much adoption of the program as they were anticipating. And the issue, at least according to Tech Data, from what they can see is, that the partners are heads down, driving business, closing deals, and it's just hard to invest the time and the energy to work it, try out something new, essentially. And so they're interested, but they're not necessarily climbing on board. And this, despite the fact that there were all sorts of statistics cited at the show indicating that businesses generally and SMBs specifically are really interested in these kinds of subscription-priced offers. This is how they want to buy technology. So it feels a little bit like, some of our readers here at ChannelPro, I think, need to kind of dig up that extra time from my perspective and really start to kind of understand some of these offers from the distributors and taking those first steps to embrace them, because I just got to believe that they're missing out on some opportunities and potentially risking client relationships by not introducing this kind of subscription offer that their customers want.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Rich. From what I understand of the program, it's almost this mashup of leasing, like the best parts of leasing and the best parts of hardware as a service for both parties, because the leasing component, the good part about it for the provider is they get their check up front, just like the old traditional leases that we're all familiar with. For the end customer, they get to write the entire purchase off as an operating expense. So I think it takes a higher level of sales acumen in order to really present this properly, because our typical IT providers that are used to, as you said, just kind of selling technical outcomes and not really selling business outcomes will need to bridge that gap in order to really understand how to position this properly. And the way to position it, and so with the benefits, there's also some drawbacks, right? Because with a positive, there's always a negative, right? So point, counterpoint. So what's the negative of like a hardware as a service play for an end customer? Well, it's going to cost them a lot more over time for that particular product, service, or deliverable than if they would have purchased it outright. So again, you've got to really make a strong argument, identify the appropriate target audience who really needs the OpEx write-off, which is much greater in some cases than just kind of depreciation over several years. And then also, that also can compete with, I forget what the section 179 at the end of every year, where you can come into a client and say, hey, if you've got, excess capital, instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, invest in all this infrastructure, and they get to write off a large majority of it. So it'll be interesting. Again, I think there's a sales acumen, kind of peak that we need to achieve to really understand how to present these to our clients. But the bottom line here is we need to make certain that when we are delivering or presenting solutions to our clients, we give them every opportunity to buy those solutions in the way they feel the most comfortable with. So if I've got 5 different ways to purchase, some might say, well, maybe that's too many options. It may stall the sale. And I think I read that in your article too. There was some feedback that said, well, you know what? The sales professionals, they are trained to sell this way. And if they think that they're going to introduce something that's going to prolong the sales cycle, then they're less apt to want to engage in that as well. So there's a lot of factors here. It'd be interesting to see, how adoption accelerates or remains flat over the next year. I understand kind of why it's, interesting to everybody, but I also kind of understand why, they may not have reached the adoption levels that they would have hoped for yet.
And I think Tech Data does as well. I think the sales acumen point you made is a really good one. I mean, the Tech Data executives I spoke with basically said that they are going to make a big point of driving education and awareness of this program in 2019. And the awareness piece of that is that there are still partners out there who don't know that this is available or don't fully understand how it works, and they're going to want to make these people aware of what tech as a service is. But the education piece really is for the partners who understand a little bit more about what it's about, but don't necessarily know how to sell it or how to overcome some of the objections that you were pointing to. And there are customers who do the math and figure out that over time this could be or will be more expensive to me. There are, appropriate ways to deal with that objection and points that you can make to the customer to help them understand the value to them in terms of the, the OpEx versus CapEx and the predictability of your IT spending over time and so on. But it is something that has to be learned. And so, they're going to be working on that with the partners at Tech Data. And, my prediction is that there will actually be pretty strong adoption of this program, and same with the other distributors. But I think there is that learning curve, and so it will take some time.
Agreed. Yeah. They'll have to train their partners on how to present it properly and accelerate them through that learning curve.
Well, you know what else some partners need to learn or learn a little bit more about? Bundling solutions, Eric, and I think that's your tip of the week.
Absolutely, Rich. And so I really want us to, this is one of those, let's get back to basics conversations, everybody. We get excited when a new product or solution comes around. We've got a vendor that's going to give us a spiff for selling, a piece of iron or some service and things like that. And I just want us all to kind of take a step back and think about the value of bundling and bundling services that are complementary, and then tiering them in such a way so that, we bundle these services in a way so that the next higher tier offers more different and unique value, right? So what does bundling really do for us, Rich? I mean, as a solution provider, we think, well, if I'm bundling things together, I have to learn how to really present the value of them overall. Yes, of course, if we're going to go sell, we need to learn our craft and we need to practice our craft and perfect our craft. But what does it do for us? It helps us sell more solutions at a higher price than we may have, than we may be able to do individually. So if you've got 5 or 6 things in your bundle and each one of those things you're selling independently, then you're selling them at full retail or the margin and the markup that you want. And it may take a client, a while to purchase all of them. But if you bundle them together, it makes those clients that are hesitant to spend and open their pocketbook more apt to do so when they see that there's a value. Of course, you're going to give them a discount for purchasing these bundles, but you're going to price it properly so that you're making good margin anyway. So one, you're going to sell more products at a higher blended margin, bundling them together, and you're going to make sure that those bundles are exactly what you craft and put together. Instead of letting the client pick and choose what they think they may want for their environment, you're going to give them those bundles. They're approved by you. They're crafted by you. You're going to present those to the client. They're then going to be more apt and willing, especially the folks that are very, careful about what they spend. When they see an opportunity and a discount for these bundles, it'll help them make that buying decision more easily. And once you get the client used to buying in bundles, then you bundle more things later, and they're used to consuming in that fashion once you've already done the first one. So again, growing lifetime value, making it easy for clients to say yes, when in the past, maybe they would have said no to all of these things altogether. But bundle, give them a little bit of a discount, make sure you maintain your margins, present on value, and sell on business outcomes, not technology outcomes. And that's how you'll be successful selling bundles of services.
Yeah, I think that last point is a really, really critical one. One of the great things about selling bundles as opposed to products is that you can focus on the business outcome, the value that those products collectively provide, which is the value that you as a partner are delivering to the customer. Also, it's just harder for the customer to object and try to bargain or negotiate with you on this price or that price if it's one price basically for a whole bunch of systems that they're acquiring all together. And it in this day and age, it's obviously easier and easier for them to look up the pricing on some of the systems you might be offering them. And it's going to be a little harder for them to understand how much margin is built into the bundle if you're not selling those products individually. That kind of factors into it as well.
Great point. And you did bring up something that I want to mention. If the client does attempt to negotiate with you on the price of the bundle, the immediate response from you should be, all right, what kind of budget are we working with? If they give you a budget number, then you ask, what would you like to remove? Okay, let's not negotiate on price. There's value. Okay, so if they want a deal better than you're giving them, then you're going to ask them what they would like to remove. And you're going to walk them through everything in the bundle and say, well, I think you really need this component. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, I think I need that, all the way through until they finally say, they tap out and go, you know what, Eric, you're right. Let's just move forward.
Well, we don't have time for it this week, unfortunately, but we could do a whole series of conversations. You were talking about tiering before, and the finer points of tiering, I think, is a really interesting conversation. I think there's more conversation to be had about what does or does not get included into bundles these days. When partners are beginning to add cybersecurity services, I hear a lot of questions from them about, do I build that into my core bundles? Is that a separate bundle? Are there particular items maybe that I sell as add-ons? So we should kind of make a note to come back to this topic and talk more about it. There's a lot there.
Sign me up.
All right. Well, we've got time for just one more story this week, though, and it takes us to the Bay Area. And, baseball season is underway. If you live in Seattle like I do, you're a Seattle Mariners fan, you're pretty happy about this because your team is doing well. If you're from the Bay Area, if you're from San Francisco, you're a fan of the San Francisco Giants, well, maybe you've been to a game and you picked up a copy of the San Francisco Giants 2019 calendar, their Oracle Park calendar. That's now the name of the stadium that the Giants are playing in. Oracle Park, and it features a picture of the San Francisco skyline on the cover of it. This calendar does, and it's a beautiful rendering. Except a number of people have noticed there's something missing from it, and it happens to be that enormous new office building belonging to Salesforce. Now, as we may or may not know, the folks at Oracle and the folks at Salesforce, specifically the folks at the top of the pyramid there, don't necessarily like each other very much. And so there was some question about whether or not maybe Oracle had stepped in and tried to erase Salesforce from San Francisco. The San Francisco Giants and the Oracle Park people said, no, we just took a historic photo of the skyline that predates the existence of the Salesforce Tower. But it is a little bit funny to see an Oracle Park calendar that just doesn't even acknowledge the existence of Salesforce.
That excuse sounds reasonable to me, Rich.
It is. It's perfectly reasonable. That is all the time we've got this week for you on the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you very much for joining us once again. If you like the show, you'd like to keep up on future episodes, maybe take a look at some older ones that you've missed, what you want to do is subscribe to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube, and you will get all of that information. To read more about this Tech Data event that I just attended, and all sorts of other stuff going on in the industry, news, business growth strategies, go to channelpronetwork.com on a daily basis. We have got great new content for you going up every single day. To learn more about Erick and his business and the work he does with his clients, you want to go to ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, thank you for joining us. We will be actually in person together next week for another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Erick and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.